What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I kind of want to just walk through the lies and what maybe has happened with Scream 7, with Jenna, with Melissa. I wanted to put this in just a condensed video form. I probably will still get off track, but I wanted to hear from you guys as well. Obviously, videos would probably perform better than live streams. I want to see what you all think. There's been a lot, I think, of baiting. A lot of misdirection, right? Where either Spyglass or PR people or whoever the heck, runs the show, they're feeding a lot of stories, I think, to either flat out confuse people, which it's worked. I am confused. I'm a very confused man, but also distract from what has actually happened. So I kind of want to talk about how I see it having all worked out with what happened with Melissa, what happened with Jenna, and I want to hear from you guys in the comments as well. Got a few other Scream videos planned over the next few days, but we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so the first thing I think we need to talk about, right, is the contract situation. And this could probably take us an hour, so we'll try to get more to the point and not get so off track like I am right now. Who had a contract? Who didn't have a contract, and the terminology here, right? Because when Melissa gets dropped, well, that's the key word, right? Melissa Barrera was quietly let go. She was dropped from Scream 7. Okay, so you have that being said. You have Jenna Ortega, where she never had a contract. Well, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. You have Mason Gooding and Jasmine, right, that they do have contracts. So that immediately makes me very confused, because why would you have those two but not Melissa and Jenna? And then you have just all of the stories that either conflict with each other or just make things, again, more confusing. There's the story out there about money. And I mean, they're no strangers to not paying people, right? But you have the information out there with money that, okay, so one rumor is that Jasmine and Mason already had deals, whether it was a 3-picture deal or they renegotiated or whatever for Scream 7. But Melissa and Jenna, they did not have deals. They only had a 2-picture deal. And that's a big news story that was floating around, right? They had a 2-picture deal, and they had to renegotiate the offer for Scream 7. And the money, they were not willing. Then I think we heard the Jenna Ortega specific one, where the money that Jenna was asking for was just flat out not going to happen, right? Which we'll talk about. Okay, so you have that. Now, the question is that true? Because there is rumors out there that, well, did Melissa ask for more? And they said, nope, we're not doing it. But we're going to go further than that. Because we already have this, public perception of us that we don't pay people, which is true. What we're going to do instead is, instead of saying out loud, because this is a possibility, right? Instead of Melissa just saying, well, or even Spyglass, hey, we couldn't work on a deal with Melissa, it's just not going to happen, she's not returning for Scream 7. Instead of doing that, they knew the backlash. So instead they said, well, we'll nitpick. Well, there's this thing going on overseas, and it's clearly a big deal, and people are taking stances, and maybe if we get very political with this, we can try to say that they breached something, or, they said something they shouldn't have said, and we can get rid of them for that. Now, you could ask, and I think this would be a good question, that has blown up in their face, so did they think that through? No. So I guess, in that way, and I'll get to, what I believe the entire thing, what happened. But in that way, it's there was no smart decision there, right? Because they could either say, well, we can't pay them, but we've already said that with Nev, so that's going to look even worse. So instead of saying that, we want to give a reason, so we're going to really go after Melissa and make it much more messier than I think it originally would have been. But either way, we would have looked bad, right? But we're going to go this political way because maybe we can spin it. And maybe they have. There's the rumors that Melissa has been dropped from other things. There's the rumors that she's missed out on other career opportunities in the last month. Maybe companies don't want her, for whatever reason. Maybe that's it. So maybe they did, at the end of the day, make what they believe was the smart decision. No, I don't think it was maybe they thought so, right? And they clearly think on a different wavelength than we, the audience. Okay, so you have that. But the Jenna money thing, okay, so you have that. Here's what I think actually happened. And you can correct me anywhere through this that you deem, that maybe I'm getting something wrong, because I'm not in Hollywood. I don't know how these things actually work. This is just my opinion. Okay, to me, when you are quietly let go, you're quietly dropped, you already have a contract. Now, that could be dispelled with something that we actually talked about in my live stream yesterday, where, well, there's legal stuff, okay? Maybe Melissa truly didn't have a contract with them. If Melissa did have a contract with them and she said all this stuff and they went after her, maybe she could sue them for wrongful termination or whatever. Like, she could point out, hey, what I said is not what you're saying that I said, so I'm coming after you now. And you have to imagine these people have lawyers. They have people that are, smart in that way. And when the phone call was made to drop Melissa or fire her, or whatever terminology you want to use, you do have to imagine that legally they probably had some talks. And I would like to believe that. Hollywood is very dumb, but sometimes they're smart. Sometimes they cover their backs. They're really good at covering their backs. Not so much being smart, though, right? So maybe that's true. Maybe Melissa. And so I think meeting kind of in the middle. What I think maybe most likely happened was Melissa had kind of a penciled out agreement. How I would look at it, and I've talked about this in the past with, like, say, Johnny Depp for Pirates of the Caribbean 6. Johnny Depp was writing Pirates of the Caribbean 6 with them. He said that in court, but also it was reported back in the day when after Pirates 5 came out that he was doing that. So he was writing it with them. He had like a money offer, but it was never signed. He never signed an actual contract proposal that was given to him. So, obviously, like, all the court stuff that happened with him and Amber Heard happened, but he could never go after Disney because he was never like outright. He was fired, but without actually being fired. And ironically, that could very well be what happened with Melissa, where she was fired because everything indicates they thought they had her. And that's really where I want to go next on this. You do not, in my opinion, write a script where she is half of your movie if you don't think you have her. And that's where I'm coming from, potentially. We'll talk about Jenna in a second, but that's where I'm coming from. When you write something like that, when you write half the script and Sydney is half of the script, you have to have, I believe, a major belief that Neve Campbell is coming back. Because how do you waste writers' time? And yes, scripts go through multiple revisions, and maybe you write multiple drafts of a script, right, or versions. But how do you spend 2, 3, 4 months writing a script where half of the movie is one, half of the movie is the other, and you don't even have a clue if you have them in your movie? What I think is a lot of like handshake agreements and a lot of pencil writing, right? Where they, Melissa, oh, she's in. We have even the number, maybe. Maybe we worked on the money and we got the number. She literally just has to sign the contract, but we don't have to do that right away. Let's get the script. Let's get ready. And then, once we start announcing it on social media, she can sign. Officially, she comes in the studio, she signs it. I feel like through what you guys have talked to me about, in the past couple of days, maybe that's how it works. Like, I'm trying to get a little bit more educated. Not that I care. I mean, beyond this, I really don't care about how contracts work in Hollywood. But with this situation, it is interesting to me. But maybe that's what's happened. Maybe they were close and it had a handshake deal, and which is important, right? Because it's like, okay, well, Neve, is she legally signed in? Because if she's not legally signed in, you're going to have quite the time convincing her to come back. You're going to have a very hard time convincing her, right? Now, if she's legally binded where she has to come back, well, now obviously you kind of got her. But if you didn't have Melissa, then would you really have Neve? I don't know. I don't think you actually would. Now, the Jenna thing is also interesting, right? Because so Melissa, you have the whole saga with her, and maybe she was fired and she had a contract. Maybe she wasn't. But Jenna, so don't forget the first news story, or rumor story, I should say, that came out with Jenna the day, the day everything kind of fell apart on Wednesday, at least with her, right? The first rumor was that she was trying to get out of her contract. Now, as the day went, obviously part of that rumor was true because she left. She's not coming back. But then there was just so much confusion of like, well, what actually, happened with her? Did she have a contract? Well, this is where I get confused about the script because, Critical Overlord's thing with the script is that there'd be like Sam and Tara, and there'd also be Sydney, and it'd be split. But then there's rumors that Tara was only going to be in like 2 or 3 scenes. She was going to be a cameo. She was going to be away at a job or something, and she, because of her filming. Couple issues even with that. Well, she would have had probably 4, 5, 6 weeks to film. So why is she only in it for 3 scenes? Is she in it for 3 scenes because they had to pay her less? So because they pay her less, she's obligated that she doesn't have to be in so much of it. She can only film a few days, right? So much money per day. To me, it gets very confusing very fast. Was she part of the script as like a main thing, Jenna? Did she sign an agreement? Because the first rumor was she had a deal and she's trying to back out of it using the fact that she has scheduling conflicts. Even the rumor that she dropped out of the movie because of Melissa, which I believe. I think Jenna is not coming back because of Melissa, okay? But like, how does that work? Did she have a contract? Was she close to also signing, but she never again officially signed? And then she said, "Nope, screw you. You know, you terminated your lead, a close friend of mine. I'm not doing it." Right? Did that happen? Was she signed on and then legally she could use some sort of Wednesday excuse to get out of it? That one is so much harder to me to figure out. Melissa, I feel like I could be convinced or just kind of like land on the idea and stay away from it after that she was close to signing. They had a handshake deal. Everything was good. And then she said what she said, and they got mad at her for, like, she upset two executives, and they fired her. That's what I think ended up happening, okay? And fired, I guess, in the sense that she was never specifically or formally hired, but they, you know, that's the terminology I'll be using, right? But for Jenna, it's like, well, did she sign a deal to be on a few days? Did she sign on a deal to actually be a pretty major part of it? Did she not? Was she always? Because you had the rumors come out that she said months ago that she couldn't do it. Well, what about the rumor like 1 month ago that she was committed to filming Scream 7? What about, and that's a rumor. You don't know that for sure, but it was something before this whole avalanche that maybe you can trust. Well, what about also, again, like what I will not let go, the filming constraints don't make sense to me. If Scream 7 starts filming March 1st and Wednesday starts filming April 20th, yes, it's in two different parts of the world. Give her a week, you know, to reacclimate and, you know, get from one place to the. Some actors go literally like 1 or 2 days and they go to a different thing. I think Stranger Things, they've done that before, right? So you could give her a week, let's say, just for, you know, charity cases. Okay, well, just give her 4 or 5 weeks to film Scream 7. You easily have 4 to 5 weeks that she could have filmed. So where are we getting that she could only have been in it for like a few days? She could have only filmed a few days because she's not going to be there. Well, like, what? So what about the 5 weeks that she's able to? I just don't understand that part. Still, like, to the second that I'm recording this, I don't even have any ideas of like how you can get around that. So I don't know. That's kind of where I stand. This contract thing is tough because, again, like legally, yeah, like can Melissa go after them? The reason she probably hasn't is maybe she never had a contract in the first place. And Jenna, why did Jenna leave? Or why did the news come out that she left a day after Melissa? And then they used the excuse, well, she never had a contract. Well, I feel like she maybe did. Maybe she used Wednesday. Maybe she was in the same boat where she had a handshake agreement. And then she saw what happened to Melissa. And she said, yeah, handshakes don't mean anything, right? It's until I sign it. Then it means that I never signed it, so I'm done. Like, did that happen? Probably. And the bigger thing is, well, what about the reports that Jasmine and Mason signed? Well, why do you have, it's no disrespect to them, like literally no disrespect, but you have to be like aware of like who's big, who's not as big, like in Hollywood. Okay, these two are not very big, and they're also not the main characters in any way in any of these Scream movies. Okay, let's just be, without attacking, like, because I actually think they're pretty good actors and I like the characters. I like Chad a little bit more, specifically because of 6, but you know, just regardless, they are not somebody, like, why would you sign them before you signed Jenna and Melissa? I just don't. And then if they're signed, could Nev also be signed? Because maybe they're not the only two that signed on. Did you sign Hayden on? Like, are you doing like your secondary characters first? You're signing them first, and then you sign your main leads? Maybe that's how Hollywood works. I think that's dumb. Like, I wouldn't do that. No, I'm not an executive, and maybe that's how Hollywood literally is. I don't know. Maybe that's not breaking the norm, but I don't know why you would do that. So I don't know. It's the first time hearing of some of like the intricacies and procedures of Hollywood. I don't care to know any more or to know it beyond Scream 7, but here we are, I guess. So let me know what you guys think in the comments of what's actually going on in this situation. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.